In this video tutorial, we'll be looking at how to create a branching scenario using Smart Builder templates. We'll start by looking at the final product, and then a quick overview of how it's assembled. And after that, we'll go through the process step by step so that you can follow along and build your own branching scenario. Let's start our branching scenario. There's a beginning page that introduces a scenario, as well as a background image and a performance meter. We'll click Begin, and we can see a character appear, as well as their dialogue and our response choices. There are many ways to design branching scenarios, but our templates assume that the learner plays themselves, and the person that you are talking to is shown on the page. So this character is the one that you're having the conversation with, and you are not shown. As we make choices, the character motion changes, and the performance meter value goes up or down. We can also see the text of the last choice that we made, and there's a back button to allow us to move backwards. Eventually, we arrive at the end of the scenario. Let's take a peek at the authoring stage to see how this was assembled. Before we look at the flow, we'll start with the background and meter, as well as a character. Both are used across pages, so they are master templates. You can use one of our backgrounds or supply your own. The same goes for the characters. We supply a number of characters with different emotions, but if you have your own images from another source, you can easily swap them out. Moving back to the main flow, we can see that each step of the scenario is on a different page. Here's the beginning page, here's a choice page, and here's an end page. Each of these page types have a separate template that was added to that page. With the choice page, each response choice will automatically proceed to the corresponding branch. So if the learner chooses the second response, they'll move on to the second branch. So the structure of your flow is important and needs to correspond to the order of the choices. There's also a fourth type of page. This is used when you have a branch that you want to connect to somewhere else in the flow. The simplest example of when you would use that is here. On this page, you have two response options that lead to the same place. But the response text is different for each choice, and each one awards a different amount of points. So if they choose option 1, it adds points and goes to the end. But if they choose option 2, it subtracts points, but also still goes to the end. There are many other examples of when you might want to jump around your flow, and we'll look at an example of that later when we build our own branching scenario. The entire branching scenario is created within a subflow. This allows us to keep our flow neat and tidy by collapsing the subflow. It also allows us to exit the branching scenario from multiple points. If you have pages outside of the branching scenario, either before or after, it makes sense to use a subflow. If your entire lesson consists only of the branching scenario, then it is not necessary. Now let's look at how to build a branching scenario. While you can start building your branching scenario directly in Smart Builder, it's usually a better idea to plan the whole thing out first. This will allow you to quickly make text edits and keep yourself from overdeveloping one branch while neglecting others. We recommend that you use a flow diagram tool to plan your branching scenario. You can use whatever tool is best for you, whether that is handwritten index cards, PowerPoint, Lucidchart, or Draw.io, but we'll be using Draw.io because it is free and easy to use. you can download the sample flow from the link provided. Looking at the flow, we see that it starts with an introduction, and then goes to a dialog page with one choice. After that, it branches to 3 different pages, each with a few different responses. From there, we see that not all the choices lead to new pages. Instead, many of the choices lead to other existing pages. Finally, there are 2 endpoints where the branching scenario ends. After finalizing the text, we've made another pass and added in how the character emotions change, as well as how many points are added or subtracted. We've also named each page. Once we have a plan, we're ready to start building our branching scenario in Smart Builder. Let's create a new lesson in Smart Builder. We recommend that you follow along, so pause the video, fire up Smart Builder, and download the flow diagram. We'll start by adding a couple pages. They will represent the rest of our lesson that exists outside the branching scenario. Next, we will create a subflow. And arrange it so that it comes before the last page. Again, if your entire lesson consists of the branching scenario, this step is not mandatory, but it will help if you want to keep your branching scenario contained, and it will allow us to proceed after the branching scenario is done. Next, we'll go to the first page of our subflow. And before we start the branching part of our branching scenario, we want to lay some groundwork. We'll start with applying a background and meter template. So we'll go to Templates, Apply Template. In the Master section, we'll choose the branching scenario category and choose Background and Meter and apply that to this page. We don't want this template to be applied on all the pages of our lesson because it doesn't make much sense outside the scope of the branching scenario. Once it's applied, we'll rearrange the background master so that it is below the page content. The background won't help us if it is above everything else. We can go to the masters and select the background and meter master. And from here, we can see that there are a number of background images that we can choose from. When we find one that we like, we can select the others and delete them, leaving just the one that we want. If we wanted to bring in our own image, we can do that now by double-clicking on an existing image and choosing a new file. Also, if we do not want to use this meter in our branching scenario, we could drag that off screen or make any other customizations, such as changing the colors or adding more images. In our case, we want to keep the meter and use this image. Next, we'll choose our character. So let's return to the flow. And this is an important step because we want to apply the character to the page where our branching scenario starts. From this page, we'll again go to Templates, Apply Template, Masters, Branching Scenario, and this time we'll choose a character. I'm going to choose this person. Once the template has been applied, we'll again want to arrange it in the cast so that our character doesn't get in the way of any interactive elements like buttons or radio buttons. We can see the different emotions available by clicking through the layers. There are 5 common emotions to all the templates. Some characters have a few bonus emotions, and those vary from character to character. And there's room for up to 8 emotions total. If you have your own character, either from a stock library, online avatar creator, commissioned artist, or photographs that you took yourself, you can swap out these images. That will preserve the interactivity and logic, but use your custom images. We'll stick with this character for now. At this point, we're ready to begin our branching. Looking at the flow, we are here on page 1. Let's rename the page to Begin. Then we can apply our beginning template. So we'll go up to Templates, Apply Template. In the branching scenario category, we'll choose the beginning page template. Here we can enter our introduction text and define some of the settings. So I'll paste in my text, and then I can decide what I want my meter starting value to be. 50 or 0 are the most common settings, and I will leave it at 50. Next, I can decide whether I want to show the character on this beginning page, or wait and show it on the next page. I'll choose to show the character on the next page. When the character is shown, I can also choose their starting emotion. We'll start them off happy. I can also decide at this point if I want to include the back button. The setting we choose here will impact all the other pages of the branching scenario and show or hide the back button on those pages. The back button has some advanced logic to allow the learner to retrace their steps and basically undo their choices. This is great for branching scenarios where you want people to explore and try out multiple options, because the stakes for an incorrect choice are very low. For more serious branching scenarios, such as graded evaluations, or when you want to record a score, you can turn off the back button, so the choices they make are more permanent. This is a great idea when you want to delay feedback and force people to make more meaningful choices. For a middle ground, where you want people to make meaningful decisions, but also encourage exploration or multiple attempts, you can always provide a way back to the beginning of the branching scenario. Then the learner can retake it from the start. We will leave the back button on for now, but if we change our mind later, we can always return to this template wizard and switch it off. We can say OK, and the first page of our branching scenario has been created. Next, we'll create a new page by right-clicking on Begin and choosing New Page. Here we're going to apply a different template. So again, we'll go to Templates, Apply Template, Branching Scenario, and this time we'll choose the Choice template. Here we can see some fields where we can enter our text. This field is for the character text, so we'll paste our character text in there. And then down here, we can enter our options. For this first page, there is only one option, so I will delete the other responses and paste in the text. I can also change the character emotion and type in the points that should be added. That's all for this page, so we'll click OK. Again, we'll add a new page. And again, we'll add a choice page template. This time, we will paste in the text for the character, and then paste in the various answer choices. We'll update the points and emotions for each choice. Since this is our first branching page, I'm going to pay closer attention to the instructions here. They tell me that for every response choice I create, I need to create a corresponding page that comes directly after this one. So if the learner chooses this choice, it will go down this branch. And if they choose this choice, it will go down this branch. Let's click OK and go create those branches. We'll start by creating the 3 pages that we want linearly. And then rename them. We should probably rename our other pages as well. Finally, we will drag them so that they are vertically oriented, and each page comes directly after our branching page. If you're having trouble dragging and dropping these pages, pay close attention to the blue line. Smart Builder is looking at the placement of your mouse. So if you pick up the page and hold your mouse over another page, the blue line will tell you where it's going to be placed. The flow is starting to get pretty tall. So we can expand the flow to see more, but then we start to lose screen real estate. Instead, we can use the compact view, which will hide the thumbnail but still show the page name. Now we can proceed with adding more templates. So we'll go to the top branch, and apply another choice template. We can paste in our character text. And this page only has 2 responses, so I'll delete one, paste in the responses, and change the emotions and points. We'll repeat that process for the next branch. And again for the third branch. This particular page is a little bit different. The character text isn't really character text. Instead, it's sort of an update from a technician. So we'll need to make it distinct. Once we've applied the template, we'll make some changes here on the authoring stage. We'll change the default shape from a caption bubble to a rounded rectangle, and we'll make the text italic. Now that we're done with this round of pages, we'll return to the top branch. This page has 2 choices, so we'll create 2 pages that follow. Rename them. And arrange them to correspond to the branches. These 2 branches actually jump to other parts of the branching scenario. These pages need to exist because the previous choice page needs to proceed to somewhere. However, we don't want our learners to do anything on this page. Instead, we want to send them directly to this other page. So we're going to apply another template. But first, we need the name of our target page. So we will select that page, double-click, and copy the name of the page. Then we can return to our jumping page and apply a template. This time, we want the Jump to Page template. This template will basically auto-forward the learner to the right place. All we need to do is paste in the name of the page we want to go to in here. Of course, this won't work very well if we have multiple pages with the same name, nor if we type it in manually and misspell anything. So it's safer to copy and paste. This page will not be seen by the learners, as all the objects on the page are set to not start visible, and the page will advance as soon as it is loaded. We'll do the same thing with the next branch. First, we'll copy the name of the target page, and then return to the jumping page, apply the template, and paste the name in. Looking at the next branch, we have to create a page for the branching scenario to move to. And again, we're going to be jumping to a different place in the branching scenario. So we'll copy the name of the target page, return to the jumping page, apply our template, and paste in the name. Looking at the last branch, we see that this has 2 responses. So we need 2 pages. This branch has another choice, so we'll apply our choice template, and paste in the character text, paste in the response text, update the emotions, and the points. This branch is a new type of page. It is an ending page. These pages are similar to the choice pages, but they don't actually provide a choice to be made. They have a place for feedback on the branching scenario as a whole. In our case, we'll use that text to simply end the conversation. And we'll click OK. The Continue button on this page will exit the subflow and go to the next page in the main flow. Finally, we have one branch left. This has 2 responses, both of which lead to the same place. However, they have different points associated with them and different character emotions. So we'll need to create 2 new pages. One will be another end page. So we'll apply that template, and paste in the text, and because this is an end page, there's no need to create a page that follows it. The other branch will simply jump to the end page we just created. So we'll copy the target page's name, apply the Jump to Page template, and paste the name in there. And with that, we're done. We're ready to preview. We're only going to go through this branching scenario once, but when you test your branching scenario, you'll want to run through it multiple times and go down each branch to test for any errors. So let's go ahead and preview from our begin page. And so we see our background and our meter, which starts at 50, and no character. We'll click begin. Our character appears, as well as their text, and our only answer option. Now, as we make different responses, we can see that the character motion changes and our performance meter goes up or down. If we need to, we can go backwards and choose a different choice. When we arrive on an end page, we can click Continue, and we exit our flow.